1. Appendix 1. Translated by C. A. F. Rhys Davids. Dhamma Sangani Enumeration of Internal Phenomenon. Appendix 1. Appendix I. The digest, or condensed paraphrase of Book 3. Entitled Division of Exposition, or the Elucidation. Immediately following the text of the Dhamma Sangani itself is a supplement of some questions and answers. The questions are verbatim those of the Elimination Division, or Book 3. Taken in order, but without the cross-questioning on the details of the various lists of ethical factors or defects, such as the varieties of cause, or of the intoxicants, etc. The answers are for the most part more tersely worded than those in Book 3. And couched in language more or less different, including several terms that came into technical use after the earliest ages of Buddhism. No distinctive title is assigned to this supplement in the manual itself. It is probable that the final announcement Dhamma Sangani Sammata refers, not to it, but to the entire work. In the Atthakatha, however, this section is pronounced to be commentary, not text, and is termed the Atthakatha, or expositional division. And in an earlier passage it was termed the fourth Vibhati comprising the Atudaro. The tradition is related that it is the work of Sariputta, and was compiled by him with the object of making clearer the contents of the Nikapakandam to a pupil who could not otherwise understand it. This being so, and the answers throwing no new light on to the subjects discussed, I have not thought it worthwhile to translate them. At the same time, it seemed advisable to sort out the specific, if not the individual, differences in diction, so that the reader may lose nothing that may prove of any value for the history either of the terms or of the concepts of Buddhism. I have also given translations of a few answers where the very difference in the terms used to obtain a virtually equivalent statement may prove helpful towards understanding the language of the manual itself. In respect of Pali terms used when there is need of referring collectively to the three modes, or worlds of all rebirth, as well as to that higher life of saintly aspiration, which is not concerned with rebirth, these four are no longer distinctively spoken of as the avikaram of this or that and the unincluded, but are simply classed together as the four bhumis. Again, Nirvana invariably replaces the term uncompounded element. See Appendix II. Form replaces all form, and fruits of the life of the recluse the word fruits of the paths. The latter variation occurs but once in the manual itself, viz. at. Frequent allusion is now made to those types of good and bad thoughts distinguished and analyzed by Book I. They are spoken of, not as siddhani, but as situppada, or genesis of thought, a term occurring only once in the manual, viz. as a title. The skandhas, so frequently adduced in Book 3, are never mentioned. The term co-intoxicant is no longer used except in the analysis of the intoxicant group. The very frequent use of the ablative in to, when the manual would use a substantival adjective, for instance, kamavakara instead of kamavakaram, betrays the later idiom. The manual itself uses this ablative, I believe, but twice, viz. in vipakato equals is, or by way of, result. The term Kiriya, so seldom used in the manual, is now used extremely often. Taking now the three questions respecting good, bad, and indeterminate states, with which Book 3 opens, we read the following concise replies, taken in order. Good in the four planes. The 12 genes of bad thought. Result in the four planes. Completed indeterminates in the three planes. Form also in Nirvana. Now, on referring to the analysis of the 12 types of bad states, it will be seen that these cover the whole question, inasmuch as only one plane, that of sensuous existence, is involved. Good and indeterminate dhammas, on the other hand, involve all four planes, and cannot be answered simply in terms of the 8 types of good thoughts in the one case, nor of thought genesis in the other. The next triad of questions is answered in language which occurs at only one other passage in the whole work, and which is of a vagueness that makes any equivalent rendering welcome. States associated with easeful feeling. The four genes of thought accompanied by happiness, which belong to good in the sensuous universe. The four, which belong to bad. The six, which belong to the results of good in the sensuous universe, as well as the five belonging to completed thought. The threefold and fourfold jhana relating to the heavens of form, whether it arise as good, result, or as a completed state. The threefold and fourfold jhana relating to the higher ideal, whether it arise as good or as result. The easeful feeling herewith arisen is not reckoned in. States associated with distressful feeling. The two genes of thought which are accompanied by melancholy. Cognition of body, which is accompanied by distress. The distressful feeling herewith arisen is not reckoned in. States associated with neutral feeling. The four genes of thought accompanied by disinterestedness, which belong to good in the sensuous universe. The six, which belong to bad. The 10, which belong to the results of good in the sensuous universe. The six, which belong to the results of bad. The six, which belong to completed thought. The fourth jhana, relating to the heavens of form, whether it arise as good, result, or as a completed state. The four jhanas connected with formless existence, whether they arise as good, result, or as completed states. The fourth jhana relating to the higher ideal, whether it arise as good, or as result. The neutral feeling herewith arisen is not reckoned in. It is not proper to say that these three modes of feeling are associated either with themselves, or with form, or with nirvana. The answers to questions are more precise than those there given. States which may be put away by insight. The four genes of thought which are associated with views and opinions, the genesis of thought which is accompanied by perplexity. States which may be put away by culture. The genesis of thought which is accompanied by excitement. The four genes of thought which are accompanied by lust, but disconnected with views and opinions, also the two genes of thought which are accompanied by melancholy. These states may be put away either by insight or by culture. States which may be put away neither by insight nor by culture. Good in the four planes. Result in the four planes. Completed indeterminates in three planes. Form also, and nirvana. States the causes of which may be put away by insight, by culture, or by neither are described in the same terms. Moho, however, is inexplicitly named as something the cause of which can be put away by neither. Questions are answered in quite other terms than those there used. States having limited objects of thought. All result of sensuous existence. Ideation that is completed action. Representative cognition that is completed action but not free of causes, and is accompanied by happiness. States having objects of thought of wider scope. The sphere of infinite intellect. The sphere where there is neither perception nor non-perception. States having infinite objects of thought. The four paths that are the unincluded, and the four fruits of the life of the recluse. The four genes of thought which are disconnected with knowledge and belong to good in the universe of sense. Also the four genes of thought disconnected with knowledge which are completed acts, and all bad. These states may be or, but not, and may not be termed both and. Again, the four genes of thought which are associated with knowledge and belong to good in the universe of sense. The four genes of completed thoughts which are associated with knowledge. The fourth jhana relating to the universe of form, whether it arise as good, or as completed thought. And the representative cognition which is completed and free from the causes and is accompanied by disinterestedness. These states may be, or, but it is not proper to call them an end. Lastly, the threefold and fourfold jhana relating to the heavens of form, whether it arise as good, or as result, or as completed thought. The results of fourth jhana. And the two first jhanas connected with formless existence, viz. The spheres of infinite space and of infinite nothingness. These states it is not proper to call an end. Form and nirvana are without objects of thought. One more group deserves quoting as giving answers not in terms of the subject inquired into. This is the two triads corresponding to. The Atthakatha has the following states, which are personal, external, personal external. With the exception of form, which is not bound up with faculties, all states may be subjective or external or subjective external. Form, which is not bound up with faculties, and nirvana are both external states which have a subjective object of thought, an external object of thought, a subjective external object of thought. The sphere of infinite intellection and the sphere where there is neither perception nor non-perception. The threefold and fourfold jhana relating to the heavens of form. Whether it arise as good, as result, or as completed thought, also results of fourth jhana, the sphere of infinite space, the four paths that are the unincluded and the four fruits of the life of the recluse. These states have an external object of thought. Excepting form, states, good, bad, and indeterminate relating to the sensuous universe, and the fourth jhana relating to the heavens of form, whether it arise as good, or as completed thought. All these may be either, or. But it is not proper to say that the sphere of nothingness is all three. Form and nirvana are without objects of thought. There is here a point of additional interest. The second and fourth arupa jhanas are shown to have been conceived as exercises of pure introspection, and to be devoid of any implications of a world kizan, or a macrocosmic perception, let alone any of the rapt soul being caught up to other spheres. Footnotes. By an error presumably in the MSS. The printed text has, in, Jhanabalani for Samanaphalani. Cf. K. Printed above by an error as Kiriya. See Introduction 8. I. E. Excluding that of sense. K. Reads Kamavakara Kusalasa Vipakato Ca Kiriyato Ca Panka. But reference to and shows that the analysis gives 6 and 5 respectively. Excluding the highest jhana, as incompatible with easeful feeling. Read Kamavakara Kusalasa. 4 in, 1 in, 1 in. 5 in, 1 in. 4 Ardipavakara read Arupa. V. Et sec. Kiriya hituka manovinanadatu. Read, for manindriyam, anindriya badarapaeca. By an oversight this sentence and the next are printed in the text as if belonging to the previous triad. Dhamma Sangani Appendix II. Appendix II. Translated by C. A. F. Rhys Davids. Dhamma Sangani Enumeration of Internal Phenomenon. Appendix II. Appendix II. On that which is predicted about uncompounded element in the Dhamma Sangani. Uncompounded element is classed as the fourth and last species of the morally indeterminate, in other words, of that conduct or state of mind which is not productive of good or bad karma. But it alone, of those four, does not receive separate and systematic discussion, as is the case with the other three, result, kiriya, and form. The following predicates are elicited incidentally in the course of Book 3, which discusses what may be called applied ethics. Again, whereas the word nirvana is always substituted for asankhata dhatu in that Atthakatha which is appended as a supplement to the original text, the term uncompounded element is not identified, in the Dhamma Sangani, with the topmost fruit of the paths, the arahattaphalam, which is one aspect of the state called nirvana. The subject therefore seems to demand further inquiry. It is to facilitate this that the following results are appended, parallel more or less to the table on form, pp. Cf. Note, p. Uncompounded element is indeterminate. Neither result nor productive of result. Neither the issue of grasping nor favorable to it. Neither corrupt nor baneful. Void of the working of conception and of thought discursive. To be put away neither by insight nor by culture. Something the causes of which are to be put away neither by insight nor by culture. That which makes neither for the piling up nor for the undoing of rebirth. Neither appertaining nor not appertaining to studentship. infinite, perfected. That which does not entail fixed consequences. Invisible and non-impinging. Not a cause. Without causes as concomitants. Not associated with a cause. Without material form. Supramundane. Not an intoxicant. Not co-intoxicant. Disconnected with the intoxicants. Not a fetter. Unfavorable to the fetters. Disconnected with the fetters. Not a tie. Not that which tends to become tied. Disconnected with the ties. Not a hindrance. Disconnected with and unfavorable to the hindrances. Not a contagion. Disconnected with the contagion and uninfected. Without concomitant object of thought. Not of the intellect. Not involved in the life of sense. Disconnected with thought. Detached from thought. Not sprung from thought. Not something coming into being together with thought. Not consecutive to thought. Not derived. Without the attribute of grasping. Disconnected with grasping, and not favoring it. Without the attribute of corruption. Harmless. Not corrupt a. Disconnected with the corruptions, and harmless. Not joyous. Unaccompanied by joy. Unaccompanied by ease. Unaccompanied by disinterestedness. Unincluded. That by which there is no going away. Something having no beyond. Not concomitant with war. In the Sai. On the Atthakatha Nibbana is always substituted for asankhata kandho. The end.